Hello and welcome to the Growing Through the Text Facebook Live show. I am your host, Nick Rizzo from strivenlife.com. And this week we are breaking down this little bad boy of a book. It actually says a little book of wisdoms on the very top, and it really is and truly is that. I'll talk about this obviously the rest of this episode, but first, if you are interested in joining a like-minded community of individuals who love to read, learn, reflect, discuss, and apply all these things that we experience through this process to our lives in order to improve ourselves and build a better you, feel free to join the Striven Life Success Addicts, where we do just that. And if you want to get the list of the 52 books that I am reading over the next year, a book a week challenge, then you can go to strivenlife.com/Striven Library. Throw in your email. I'll send you the PDF myself. It'll have a list of books, a guided, a suggested pacing guide for reading per day in order to stay on track. And yeah, so if you're interested, I hope you join. I hope you download the list. Love to hear more about your thoughts on the books and also the list of books. If you have any suggestions for books too, I'm always open. But to the topic of today, which is this guy. All right, so A Manual for Living by, and I think I'm pronouncing this right when I say Epictetus, hopefully. He's a Stoic philosopher. And I kind of consider this book like a little spiritual, I'm going to say Bible. I don't mean any offense by that. It's just the term that comes to mind. Like a little spiritual Bible that I can kind of like just keep like by my side, and when things are happening in life, when events are unfolding, or I just need a little bit of something to kind of help me get through that, or to look at it from a different perspective or stuff like that, I feel like I can literally just flip this book open to any page and find something of deep, meaningful value to kind of help me guide me through that. And in order to kind of talk about that and show you what I mean, I'm just going to be talking about the 5 passages in here that were the most impactful to me, that resonated the most with me, because this book is made up of just tons of small passages. Some of them are a half of page of like this little guy. Some of them are 2 pages long, but they're all gold. Seriously, right? And so one of the first ones that kind of really hit me was a section called Treasure Your Mind. So he asks this question: would you give your body over to somebody else? Right? We're obviously very attached to our bodies, not in the physical sense, but like we like them. We don't want to give them away. So if someone asked you for them, for your body, and said, "Can I have this?" would you give it to them? And the obvious answer is 99.9% of the time, no. So then he poses the next question, which is, then why do you allow yourself to give your mind over to them? And so by that, what he means is that we allow ourselves and our opinions and values and how we feel about the world, how we feel about ourselves, to be modified so much and to be controlled so much by others and what they have to say and their actions and their reactions and their facial expressions and their body language and all these things. And by allowing ourselves to be subjected to these things and processing them inwardly and almost owning it and accepting what others feel about ourselves and our minds, we're allowing ourselves to give our minds over to other people. Let them be in control, which is never a good thing because, well, this is our life. And just like you wouldn't give your body over to somebody else, you shouldn't give your mind over to somebody else. Cherish it, right? It is a treasure. Hold on to it. Make it yours. Always listen. You should always be listening to what people have to say, but it doesn't mean you have to accept every single thing they say and make it a part of who you are and allow it to control your mind and your feelings and your emotions and your passions and your endeavors, right? I mean, I'm sure we've all had tons of experiences like this where we've told people what something that we want to do or, something that we're excited about, and someone else who's in the room at that time or in the conversation has a more negative opinion on that. When I was telling some people that I wanted to stop working my 9-to-5 job and commit to a business that wasn't making any money yet, maybe with some good reasoning, but I was subjected to a lot of negative opinions on that. And I didn't allow that, and this is a kind of a sense of pride for me. I didn't allow people to say no and make my answer, and make my feelings towards this endeavor that I want so deeply and so passionately about. I didn't allow anyone else to say that I couldn't do this, or they could say it, but I didn't allow them to impact my opinion on whether or not I could do this. And that's huge. And I'm sure you've had experiences just like that. And whether or not you allowed them to alter your mindset or not, think about it, take a second and reflect on that experience and learn something from it, right? So treasure your mind. It's yours. Don't let anyone else have it. Next section was that really stuck out to me was called see things for what they really are, right? So, for example, I think we're all pretty attached to this guy, right? And how many times have you seen, whether it be at a party or hanging out with people in general, where maybe someone pushes someone in the pool and they have their cell phone in their pocket, or maybe someone's out and they forgot their phone at home, or their phone's gonna die, and they're so preoccupied with just this physical thing, right? Even if it is your most favorite thing that you own, it is still just a thing, And if it breaks, we have to be able to say, well, it was just a phone. Maybe we were a little bit more dramatic about it because they're so damn expensive. But let's say this is my favorite cup, and this cup breaks. Well, it's just a cup. I can get another cup. Don't allow yourself to apply such strong such strong emotions to physical things or even events in our lives, right? Because then we allow those things to have power over us. You can love something, but be completely and honestly aware of the fact that it is just a thing, and at some point in time it may break or you may lose it, and that's okay. And that kind of same stuff in this book, he does it a couple times where he talks about people in the same light. And although I can understand it completely what he's trying to say, it is very difficult to put into practice. So he talks about how, if you have a son or a daughter or a wife or family, friends, whatever, and every time that we hug them, right, we're embracing them, we're loving them, that's great. Do that, but be aware that they are just mortals, just like us, right? We're all mortals. And at some point that they will pass. And this is a completely depressing topic, and I'm sorry. But at some point they will pass, and his suggestion is to deal with it with tranquility, as we would a cup, your favorite cup, and accept that they were here. They had an impact on us, and maybe we loved them deeply. Maybe there's some things we left unsaid that we should have, but it's okay, right? Because they were here. We celebrated their life. We carry them with us as we move forward, but don't allow ourselves to let the event of someone's passing to control our lives moving forward. Obviously, go through the healthy, mourning process and stuff like that. But at the same time, this is his point. Again, this is so difficult to put in practice. Accept what it is and what has happened and move forward, and don't let the emotional control our emotional attachments to things to control our minds and our bodies moving forward. And it just puts a lot of things in perspective and how much we are materialistic in some points. If someone misplaces something of yours and you get really upset really quickly, well, take a second to think about that, because it's just an item, right? And you can get another one even if it has sentimental value. Right, and that kind of carried over really nicely into this next section, which was, events themselves are impersonal and indifferent. Now, anyone in my group knows I already talked about this because I was super giddy about it, and I thought it was really cool. And it actually, as I was reading it, it was applying to a situation that had just occurred to me moments before, which I'll explain in a second. But events, right? Anything that happens, not like an event like a ball, even though that ball is an event, but anything that happens in our day-to-day life, right? They are impersonal and indifferent to anything that's happening. They don't have emotions. They don't have conclusions. They don't have meaning. They are just what they are as they unfold. Where the meaning and conclusions and all these things come from is our own personal, perceptions and beliefs that we put into the event. We give it meaning through our own biases, which can be dangerous. Excuse me. Which can be dangerous because it's for example, here, I'll give you the story. So I have about 3 weddings coming up in the next month. Now, I love each person that is in these weddings that they're for and that we're celebrating. And these feelings have nothing to do with them. But I've caught myself the other day saying, man, I really don't want to go to these weddings. This is going to suck. Which is a completely terrible thing to say. And the reason why I was saying is because I know that there's going to be dancing at weddings, and I could be kind of socially awkward in that situation sometimes, and that's what my feelings were towards. And so I was allowing my feelings towards an event that has not even happened yet, and my own biases towards that action or that event to control my entire opinion of what was going to happen. And so therefore I was going to go into this event with a negative attitude, a negative opinion, a negative bias, which then means my perception of everything else that's going to happen is going to be lessened, and my engagement in that celebration for those people that I love so dearly would then be kind of hindered and held back for a shit reason, because I'm just awkward when it comes to dancing, right? And that's a terrible reason. And the same thing goes if the event has already occurred, right? So for example, let's say a basketball game, right? One team loses, one team wins. It's either like the team that lost can lose it for themselves, or the team that won could win it for themselves. Maybe they played great, maybe the other team played terrible. Maybe the refs were bad, maybe one's a great coach. Whatever you want to conclude on that event at that face value isn't real. Right, like it can hold ground in some aspects with logic and rationale, but it isn't necessarily true, right? Because there's so many factors playing a role in everything that's happening within an event. There's so many people, there's so many actions, decisions. All these things are playing a role in what actually happens. So instead of settling for this face value of, what this event meant and what we can conclude from it, go a level or two deeper. Right? And see what you can truly learn from that experience that's more than just, oh, this was good or this was bad, or I enjoyed this, or I was disappointed, or they won or he lost, or it was his fault, or it was his success or her success. In every event that unfolds in our lives, we can always dig to that level. We can always dig a little bit deeper. Find something of true value that we can use to empower ourselves to be wiser moving forward, and use it to apply to other things that happen in our lives. And that same situation with the wedding, I realized that is something I probably do often. And so now that's kind of constantly in my head. And so when I go into another situation or a conversation where something like that comes up, and I'm applying already biases to a situation that hasn't unfolded yet, I'm going to catch myself and realign my thinking. And that's what I learned from that 3-minute conversation about what was on our calendar for the next 2 months. All right, so that was events themselves are impersonal and different. And the fourth part of a manual for living that really stuck out to me was, and this is going to apply directly to what Striven Life is, but start living your ideals. Right, so take the time and identify, and this is what he talks about. He says, identify what are your values. What are your goals? What's going on, Allegra? Identify what your values are. Identify what your goals are. Identify what you want to be in life. And as he says in this book too, is that what are you waiting for? Right? We only have one life. We only have today to take action. We only live in this moment. So if we start to take action in this moment to live our ideals fully, 100% and wholeheartedly, well, then the future is going to be nothing but made up of our ideal situations, our ideal selves, our ideal future or job or careers or relationships, only if you start to live your ideals today, right? And this led directly into the last part. And this is part 5 from a manual for living that really stuck out to me, which was consider what comes first, what will follow, and then take action. So any spiritual journey or a business journey or a personal endeavor that you go on, never just go into it and act, right? Never like, oh, I'm going to start doing X, Y, or Z, and then immediately just start doing random things that you feel at that moment in time will get you there. It takes time. You have to say, okay, if I start this journey, what is going to happen? What is the first thing I'm going to need to do? What is the first thing I'm going to encounter? What problems could arise? Okay, sweet. So if I take this next step, this next action, what is going to follow afterwards? Right? What are the possibilities of what could come after my first action or this first event of this journey? And start to build a plan. And I talk about this all the time in other blog posts or videos, but taking the time to say, this is something that I want in my life. These are my ideal values that I have that I want to be. And then taking the second to say, okay, well, that's in the future, but what am I going to do in this moment? And then what am I going to do in the moment afterwards? And the next day, and the next week, and the next month, in order to get to there. And it's awesome reading this book and seeing it connect with so many the ideals that I have in my own personal life, and so many others too, because this is written in Greek philosopher times, which is insane that this content that this person wrote transcended essentially all of the past 2,000 years and applies directly to everything that we are engaging with on this day, every day. All right, so again, treasure your mind. Don't give it over to other people. Don't let them impact or control your thoughts, emotions, feelings, endeavors, or what you want in life. See things for what they really are. Allow yourself to not hold overly strong attachments to physical or materialistic objects as well as people. Because as with all things, everything has an end. We can lose it, it can break, people pass away. Enjoy them while we have them. Love them fully, but don't allow when that time ends to allow it to control you moving forward. Events themselves are impersonal and different. Again, everything that happens doesn't have a meaning. We apply meaning through our thoughts, our biases, and our perceptions. So make sure you are aware of that and go a layer deeper and find the true value in those events that unfold and use that to make you better moving forward. Start living your ideals, like we just said. Whatever it is that you value, whatever it is that you want in your life, there's no other day better to act than now. Because this is the moment that we are alive in. We are not alive in the moment 10 minutes from now, or 3 days from now, or a week from now. We are not alive yet in that moment. So we can only control now, and if we control now, we control our future. And then, again, consider what comes first. Identify those values or whatever you want to do or whatever you want to grow towards or succeed at. Say, okay, this is the first steps I'm going to take. And once I take this step, what is possibly going to be happening afterwards that I'm going to have to do or overcome, or adversities that may come up to hold me back, and plan to take control of those actions that occur and to move past those things. All right, guys. Again, this is all from a 99-page book that can literally fit in your pocket. It is probably one of the books that I would suggest to everyone that it's great to have as something that you can always come back to. Again, you could literally just, anything that's happening in your life, in a day-to-day life that's stressful, or you have a new hope that you want to achieve at something, or whatever's happening, you could literally flip to any page in this book and find something of true value, gold, that you could use for yourself to help you go through these situations with a better perspective, a better mindset, to be more engaged with our lives and to love ourselves and love others more fully, and start living our ideals and take control of our future. Highly suggest you pick it up. And again, if you want to read other books just like this with us, you can join the Striven Life Success Addicts, which is in the description. We read a suggested 4 books a month, but you can pick and choose whatever books you'd like to read with us for that month and engage with that content that week, as well as learn from the books you're not reading, because there's content coming out every day in the group. You can always tune in for this show on Thursdays at 7 o'clock EST. And if you're interested in the 52 books a week challenge, you can go to strivenlife.com/Striven Library. I hope you do, and I hope to talk to y'all soon. Have a great day.